In Chapter 6 of the book, we discuss ethics and security in online mediations. The role of third-party neutrals in the mediation process is not to be taken lightly. Millions of people around the world each year visit mediators and entrust them to be fair in their dealings and willing to solve sometimes extremely emotional contests. To these millions, the mediator must remain neutral and impartial, and the mediator must ensure that the mediation process remains private and confidential. In the age of online mediations, these ethical duties remain, but they may be manifested differently from in-person mediations. Here is a short list of ethical rules the online mediator should follow whenever possible. Number one, go ahead and spotlight yourself as the mediator in the group session so you can appear front and center and neutral to all parties. Number two, when the parties are in their caucus rooms, announce through the broadcast message feature where you are and where you're going so the parties are not just waiting around, or worse, so the parties are not just thinking that you're just hanging out with the other side. Announce your entry before you jump into a private caucus room because this also ensures that the party has privacy when they are probably talking with their legal representative and you don't just barge in. Number three, draft a mediation settlement agreement in private before you share it with the parties. This will help the parties understand that the written terms are your language. Number four, prior to the mediation, try to not communicate with the parties beforehand, unless for some maybe pre-mediation tech support, or because it is absolutely necessary for information gathering, and it's going to be done to both parties in a neutral manner. Number five, control the mediation because you're in charge of the process. And because if you don't control it, a power vacuum might form where one party starts dominating the online mediation. Number six, encourage the parties to wear headphones when they are near other people at their home who are not part of the mediation, because you have to prevent eavesdroppers from listening in to the mediation conversation. Number seven, you should retain the right to request that parties turn their devices around to ensure that they indeed are alone during the mediation session. More on ethics will be included on the YouTube channel and in other courses on the Academy. Please follow and stay connected to learn more. Now, with regard to security, your software settings should be updated to help protect the online mediation for privacy and confidentiality. If you're using Zoom, know that they've done a lot to address the security in their software in 2020. But here's a list of suggested Zoom features or settings you should pay close attention to. Number one, understand that your personal meeting ID or your PMI, understand that and always don't use it. Use a automatically generated meeting ID for each mediation rather than your PMI. Only use your PMI for friends, family, colleagues that you know, because your PMI is like your cell phone number. It's your permanent meeting space. Number two, always turn on your waiting room and don't let parties show up into your mediation meeting before you do. Make sure that you allow them in one by one. Number three, only if necessary, on Zoom settings for authentication, enable only authenticated users can join meetings. This will require participants to log in to Zoom before they can participate in the mediation. Number four, lock the meeting. This is found under the Security and Manage Participants icons in your Zoom settings. This feature prevents others from joining the mediation. Do not enable Join Before Host. You should always be the first one into the meeting and the last one out of the mediation session. Number 5, include a password or a PIN for phone calls to ensure that only individuals who are authorized to participate in the mediation process can actually enter the mediation session. You should give clear warnings that parties should keep their passwords secure. Last thing you need are strangers showing up unannounced. Number 6, never let others control your screen. If you allow remote control under your Zoom settings, it may allow you to help others out, but you should never give others permission to control your own screen remotely. Turn off the virtual background feature for parties if you believe they're going to abuse it. Next, have a backup meeting option, such as freeconferencecall.com if Zoom goes down, or if there's a security breach that prevents the mediation from continuing on. Number 8, disable auto-saving of chats, because mediation should be confidential, and you don't need conversations from the mediation floating around. Number 9, disable annotations if you believe your parties will abuse the feature. Lastly, if you are Zoom bombed, stop the meeting and reschedule a new one. Send out a new invitation to the parties' email addresses, or just move over to your backup communication option. In Chapter 7, we'll discuss some best practice tips for online mediations.